During yesterday's analysis, we touched on the possibility of our favorite assets facing some serious pressures from the broader markets. We actually called it a little bit of a crippled situation, right? So, we touched today on ticker symbol VIRI, a critical support. Is there a chance for us to succeed this or not? Let's validate now. What is up, you guys? Thank you so much for stopping by once again. This is ARCa coming at you with a VIRI technicals, raw price action, and statistical thread of analysis on this happy Thursday. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and share the video with a friend so that you and them could consider joining our trading community in Discord called ARCa Bulls. With that said, let's dive right into the charts. Okay, team, so very exciting day today. Oh my goodness, we have had a serious amount of blood on the streets, team. If you are not aware of this, if you're confused over why your assets are actually facing a downside, well, that's it. It's very clear. We were already critically overbought in the broader markets, right? And this is the reason why we're facing a downside on literally everything, right, team? Please look. Look right over here, right? This is BBIG. Giving itself some gnarly red over here, right? Tickers like even Rivian, our Rivian play, right? Please notice right over here, we faced that resistance, then we got a huge capitulation right after that, right? So FNGR, we were already talking about the downside from this, right? So sorry about that. Here you go. This is the 8-hour, right? We have just red coming down, right, team? So it's I don't want to call this as like as the end of the up run, right? In fact, it's not, right? This is a pullback. We need to endure this. There are still macroeconomic pressures that are going to be coming in. We are still in the earnings report, in the earnings season, right? So there, we still have a lot to go over, team. We still have a lot to go over. Okay, so this is your SPY. Please notice please notice the SPY right over here, okay, team? So what I'm going to say here is that we may actually face some more downside. Okay, well, first of all, this is the most epic bearish engulfing that the SPY has ever printed in his life, right? So that's it's quite the statement there, right? So and the Magnificent Seven led this party, right? You have Meta capitulating, right? Everything just gapped up and then started capitulating because it was just massively overbought, team. Okay, so that created this huge downside pressure, right? Look at AMC too. GTI finding those new lows to 81, right? Even the Russell, the Russell 2000, right? These are the index futures. Huge downside, right, team? So yeah, I'm just saying that there is with all this pressure here from the blue chips like Tesla, Apple, even all of them bled. Okay, team. So this is why we're facing these pressures, and we did speak about it yesterday. We talked about our assets being temporarily crippled due to whatever the markets are trying to do, right? But it's going to be over soon, and then we would be able to recover and then continue onwards and upwards, right? So we talked about a potential 202 support just yesterday, but we were able to react actually today during the live stream, right? So it's also important for us to evaluate the markets as they are moving, as we were able to identify that the 202 was in fact a little too high, and during the live stream we actually called out the potential of the 189 to 190 probability as a support, right? We actually ended up touching down back to 188, and the 190 was given by the EABA 21. The 2.618 golden ratio was the 189. Of course, this line has been there for quite some time, team. So we ended up using this as a support before it bounced to the upside. And it rhymes pretty well. Actually, it does rhyme pretty well with the rest of the markets too, because if you see the 12-hour time frame, here you go. You see you're starting to get a little bit of recovery here, right? And you see Meta with a little bit of recovery as well. I think maybe even Apple. Jeez, sorry about that, team. Let's go ahead and look at that one more time. That would be, here you go. Yeah, Apple has that little bit of a bounce to the upside. Of course, the markets are still, the post market is still open right now for another hour. and the price action is reactive to that, right? So I just want you to see how it's all kind of following, right? Here's the TQQQ, the Nasdaq ETF triple lever, facing that little bit of a recovery. All of it is kind of rhyming together, right, team? So let's go ahead and move on to the next chart here and see what could be happening for the following day. Okay, so the 30-minute immediate short-term time frame for VIRI is already suggesting an upside continuation. I do have to warn you, though, that this is still the gravitational zone of the bear weakness percentile, which could, in essence, serve as a resistance before we can come back down and validate the potential support of the SMA 14 from the RSI, as well as the opposing side's gravitational zone for a potential bounce to the upside. Okay, so now as we start to see the other time frames, like the bi-hourly, this is suggesting a little bit of consolidation, slight downside. I never, ever, ever trust these little pivots, right? Because they often fail. So this is already, I mean, the 14-day simple is giving us a little bit of a hint there too. It's pivoted towards the downside, right? So this may actually continue to the downside after finding the resistance that we're talking about in the 30-minute. Right. So now here's another little pivot that I don't want to trust. Right. So it usually works out like that. Team, look at this. Right. You have a little pivot like this, just like the one that we're facing here. And then bam, it fails. Right. So I'm not really the biggest believer in those right there. So yesterday, during yesterday's analysis, we talked about the bi-daily RSI, the signal coming back down to the RSI 14 or the SMA 14. Sorry. And, to potentially use it as a support. It's unfortunate that we're sort of failing it, but there's also some times where we can actually, temporarily fail it, just like it is here, right? And then we succeeded and continue onwards and upwards, just like it did here as well, right? But I do have to put some importance here onto the 3-day time frame because it does show failure of the SMA 14 too. And the 5-day time frame, this is where it's at, okay, team? So let's go ahead and now just kind of use the 5-day time frame for that potential bounce that we're looking for, right? As that's kind of what's been happening here since January this year, right? Right at the beginning of this year, we bounced upside of the SMA 14, and we have actually continued onwards and upwards, and then we used it one time for support, continued onwards and upwards, and now again. This is a very critical area that we should pay attention to, okay? Notice that the SMA 14 is located in the gravitational zone of the bull weakness percentile, highly likely for this RSI signal to drop, find support from the SMA 14 alongside the gravitational zone and continue onwards and upwards. The thing is here is that it's a 5-day time frame, so it's quite the distance away, even though it seems that the proximity is enormously close, right? So we're going to have to be reactive to whatever is happening there, okay, team? So if we're able to just pull up the shorter time frames here, then we'd be able to identify a couple things, right? If we are still considering a potential downside, first of all, I would have to give precedence to the 2.618 at 189 yet again, right? But I must express some warning here, right? That we do have the broader markets kind of bleeding. Now, here's the other thing. The flash downside that we're facing is because of an immediate downside from the blue chips, right? The $1 trillion assets, the Magnificent Seven, right? So that flash to the downside is essentially why the small caps and micro caps are facing this pressure. When we start to rebalance, when we start to move, even if it is to the downside, when we start to move to the downside on a more balanced manner, that's when your small caps and micro caps will start benefiting from the drop of the blue chips and the indices, right? So upon that, we would be able to see some continuation to the upside for some, right? Not all of them, for some. All right, so we have to be very. I'd say let's just be vigilant, right, and keep an eye out for our assets. Keep an eye out for our risk. It's a little bit dangerous right now because we are facing a resistance from the EMA 21 on the 8-hour time frame. This is highly likely to find that resistance yet again, right at about that, let's see, 202, right, or even back up to our current highs of about 203. And this sounds familiar because it's very much reminiscent to what the 30-minute immediate short-term time frame is suggesting. We talked about this continuing to the upside ever so slightly into the gravitational zone of the bear weakness percentile and face the downside. from that, right? The rejection from that. So that's it is playing well, right? It is playing well with the EMA 21. Okay, team. So now, if there is a chance for us to continue to the downside, then we still have the support that's usually found beyond the 2 spot 618, and that is actually the 2 spot 272. Now, upon making a drop to that area there, that's still a higher low. That's still fine. Yeah, this support zone here with the SMA 50s at 177 to 181. If we drop down to that area there, it's still okay. And that would actually, I'm going to be honest here, it would actually give a bigger validity to this inverse head and shoulders, right, before a massive explosion to the upside upon the markets and everything else rebalancing. Right, so that's kind of what I'm looking at here for ticker symbol VIRI, kind of a red day for everything in the markets, right? Teams so very little was to the green, right? But we were able to identify those live, and we were able to capitalize on that live too. This is TLRY. We were talking about this play from down here somewhere, right? We talked about the resistance levels coming up. We talked about 229, the top side of the price action here reached 230. So this marked off a pretty nice move to the upside. Ticker symbol TUP, right? This is another one here. We identified literally all of those targets. We flashed entry here at 239 or 238, right about here, right? The team got long this area here and capitalized all the way up. If you're curious to see this, and let's just go ahead and measure it. What is that? We're looking at about a 57.7% move to the upside flagged in the live session today. Okay, team. So I'm very much thankful for all of the members that we have, and just know that the YouTube streaming live is free, and so is the Discord. Okay, team. So go ahead and come by. Lots of intelligent people there. Say hi, hang out, do your thing, right? But please remember, first and foremost, not to take any of this as financial advice. Okay, team. I need you to please take whatever I do show and iterate within these videos as just a form of entertainment, as I cannot suggest for you to buy, sell, or hold any assets whatsoever, okay? I need you to do your own due diligence, and everything will be cool, okay? But with that said, team, I wish you well a very, very good night, and I'll catch you at the bell mañana. Adios.